Namaskar students, welcome back to another lecture. So today I will start a new topic of your syllabus. So that is magnetic properties of matter. So till now what we have done, we have learned that magnetostatics we have calculated, and then Biot-Savart law, derived Biot-Savart law, and then Lorentz force, and then we have calculated magnetic field inside sphere, inside cylinder, and this concept of I have given magnetic concept of magnetic vector potentials, and then dipole, about the magnetic dipoles and other things, and we have solved several problems on all theoretical topics. So in today's lecture we will start this new topic, that is magnetic properties of matter. So in this topic we will study the lectures on vector potentials of magnetized object, and then I will give the concept of bound current. So whatever we have done earlier, so that was not in any magnetic material, in any material, that was in vacuum. Magnetic field, vector potential, and all things whatever we have done, that was done in a free space. But now if you move inside the matter, like we have studied in case of electrostatic, there we have done dielectric materials. Similarly here we will do the magnetic materials. So this lecture is prepared from the reference book, this David J. Griffith, Introduction to Electrodynamics. Those who are interested, they can go to these lectures. So let us start the today's topic. So that is the magnetic materials or magnetic properties of materials. So in this lecture we know that whole universe, whatever we are observing, everything is made of matter. And if you go at atomic, if you go little more level, we know that matter is made from the atoms. And if we further explore the atom, so we know that atom is composed of nucleus and electron, and electrons are revolving around the nucleus in a circular path. So that what we have learned, and we know these things. This we have learned in our 10+2 classes. And what we learned here, new thing is that if you see that in previous lectures we have learned that when a circular current is flowing, then that circular current and magnetic field due to that circular current, that can be written in terms of a magnetic dipole. And we have concluded that any circular current or square current on any steady state current which is moving in some bounded closed path, that is behaving like a dipole moment. So in present case, if you see that, if we see the matter, means all the objects what we are observing around us, means whole universe is made of matter. So that is made of, means in matter there is atom and then electron and nucleus. So in each and every atom, in each and every matter, there are large number of atom, and then there are large number of nucleus around which electrons are revolving. So we can say that, so electron is revolving, if electron is revolving in a circular path, so it means we can say that there are large number of magnetic dipoles are present in any matter. Why? Because of the atomic current. If you see, so this atomic current may be of because of two reasons. One is, we know that electron is orbiting around the nucleus, so that is orbital motion of electron. So this is giving the circular current which is behaving like a magnetic dipole. Another is that we know that electron is also spinning around its own axis. So that means electron is spinning about their axis, that is also giving some magnetic field. So we know that when electron is spinning around its own axis, we have calculated magnetic dipole due to spinning sphere. So electron, if we consider the electron is a spherical shape, so that means spin motion of electron also give a magnetic dipole moment, and the orbital motion of electron also give a dipole moment. So that means each matter is having a large number of tiny dipoles within it. So when we apply the magnetic field in matters, so we observe that by some experimental observations, we observe that there is a type of this spin motion of the electron, that electron spin its own axis, that gives the paramagnetic property of the materials. Okay, and we know that another current is flowing in the matter, in the atom, that is orbital current. So another property is coming into the material in presence of magnetic field, that is a diamagnetic property. In the case of diamagnetic materials, when we apply external magnetic field, the orbital current flow opposite to the applied magnetic field. That means orbital current oppose the magnetic field. So this, when the orbital current flowing opposite to the magnetic field, then those type of materials are classified as a diamagnetic material. Okay, and this property is coming because of the orbital electrons, because of the circular current. And in presence of magnetic field, we know that electrons are spinning around its own axis, and when we apply magnetic field, so these dipoles tend to align along the magnetic field direction. If the number of electrons are odd in number, this number should be odd, means unpaired electrons should be there, unpaired number should be there, then they behave like a paramagnetic materials. So this paramagnetic property comes due to the electron spin, and diamagnetic property comes due to the orbital electrons, orbital motion. Another class of material is there, I have not included here, that is known as the ferromagnetic material. There basically large number of unpaired electrons are there, large number of unpaired electrons are there, that means large number of dipoles are there, and that is a different, that is a again class of magnetic material. I have not included here because that involves several quantum mechanical phenomena also, but we will discuss in our coming lectures what are the ferromagnetic materials. So I will discuss paramagnetic and ferromagnetic material in coming lectures. Okay. So in order to understand the magnetic field, the magnetic properties of the matters, we must learn some basic things. Okay, so we will define a new quantity that is known as the magnetization. So this quantity I am introducing first time here, that is magnetization. It is quite similar to the polarization as in case of electrostatic we have introduced for the dielectric material. Here we are introducing magnetization for the magnetic material in case of magnetostatic. The definition is quite similar. Let us say we have a material, matter, magnetic material, and obviously we know that this magnetic material, may have a large number of dipole. So if we choose a small infinitesimal volume delta V, so we can define the magnetization. So magnetization vector capital M is equal to, that is magnetic moment per unit volume, means that total number of magnetic dipole moment within a given volume, that is known as the magnetization. So if you define the magnetization, so capital M vector can be written as the limit delta volume tends to 0, delta V tends to 0, summation over I Mi divided by delta V, means we have to count all in a given volume, we have to count all the dipoles and add up them, and then we divide the volume, so that is giving the magnetization vector m. Remember, this is vector quantity because dipole moment is a vector. Obviously this magnetization will be in the direction of dipole moment direction, means magnetization and dipole moments are in the same direction. Okay, if you write the unit of magnetization, so that is ampere per meter, that is ampere per meter. And as I discussed earlier, that this magnetization, that is in magnetostatic, that is quite analogy with the polarization in case of electrostatic. Okay, so now we know that if we have a matter, or we have a magnetized material, or any material, any matter we have, so depending upon the electron spin and orbital spin, if we apply magnetic field, then the matter becomes magnetized, whether it may be paramagnetic, may be dimagnetic, may be ferromagnetic. That means this material has large number of tiny dipoles. Okay, so how one can find out the magnetic field due to all these tiny dipoles? Okay, when we apply the magnetic field, when material get magnetized, how one can find out the magnetic field due to this magnetization, due to these dipoles? So let us try to find out magnetic field due to a magnetized material. So in order to find out the magnetic field due to magnetized material, we know that magnetic field is equal to that is, we can write in terms of vector potential, that B is equal to del cross A. It means if we are able to find out the vector potential due to this magnetized object at any point P, then we can find out the magnetic field due to this magnetized object when we have applied a magnetic field, external magnetic field. So let us discuss vector potential of a magnetized object. So we have a closed volume of let us say d tau prime is the volume, dx prime, dy prime, dz prime, and m is the dipole moment in a small infinite dimensional volume, and obviously this is function of x prime, y prime, z prime, because here we have chosen an arbitrary origin, which is at this arbitrary origin to this small volume, that is distance r prime vector, and the position at which we want to observe the vector potential, that is at r distance, and this this position P is basically from the origin, that is at, let us say, small r position, gamma vector. So this is r prime vector, this is r vector, and this is gamma vector, and this is function of x, y, z, and this is function of x prime, y prime, z prime. These things I have discussed earlier also, so I think there is no confusion. So we know that if we write a dipole moment, so we know that dipole moment, vector potential due to a dipole moment, that is can be written as a vector A at position r. So vector A, we are writing vector potential at this point at position r from this object, that we know that is mu upon 4 pi dipole moment m cross r unit vector upon r square. Okay, so here m is the dipole moment of the material. So we know, I have defined in my previous page that we can write this dipole moment in terms of magnetization. So if we have applied a magnetic field, so we know that we can define a magnetization. So magnetization can be written as we have defined, that is limit delta V tends to 0, that is summation over I mi divided by delta V. Here we have chosen the infinitesimal volume of this object, that is d tau. So let us say m is the dipole moment and m, capital M, is the magnetization vector. Obviously this magnetization is function of r prime, because we are defining magnetization here. Okay, and here this vector potential is a function of r. We are finding the vector potential at this point, that is function of r, and this magnetization and dipole moments are a function of r prime. Remember, so this m vector, capital M vector, can be written as small m vector divided by d tau prime. So we can write this small m vector can be written as an integral capital M vector, which is function of r prime vector, into d tau prime. Okay, so this means in vector potential term, in place of small m vector, we can write this integral capital M vector function of r prime into d tau prime. Okay. So here it should be mu 0. I have not written. So this should be mu 0 actually. So here this should be mu 0. So this should be mu 0. I forget. So this should be mu 0. Okay. So if we write, so vector potential, obviously that A vector at r is equal to mu 0 upon 4 pi integral, just in place of small m vector I have written integral capital M, which is function of r prime vector cross product r unit vector upon r square d tau prime. Okay. Now if you see here, so this is gamma vector, let us say this is r prime vector and this is r vector. So if you see here, this r unit vector and r vector, r square, that is magnitude of r, and this is r unit vector. If we write the r vector, obviously r vector will be equal to x minus x prime, x unit vector, y minus y prime, y unit vector, plus z minus z prime, z unit vector. Why? Because if this is r prime and this is gamma, so this r vector will be obviously this coordinate minus this coordinate minus this coordinate, so that will give the r vector. If we find out the magnitude, so r square, that is obviously that is x minus x prime ka whole over plus y minus y prime ka square plus z minus z prime ka whole square. So r vector r magnitude is equal to under root x minus x prime ka square plus y minus y prime ka square plus z minus z prime ka square. And let us try to find out del operator. So I am defining del prime operator. Del prime operator means we have to find out the del operator for this coordinate, for this points, which is from r prime distance from the arbitrary origin. Okay. So del prime operator, that is del upon del x operator, x unit vector, plus del upon del y operator, y unit vector, plus del upon del z prime, z unit vector. So if you try to find out del prime gradient of 1 upon r, so remember here I have taken del operator in terms of del prime operator, means I have to take gradient of 1 upon r of this quantity with respect to x prime, del upon del x prime, del upon del y prime, del upon del z prime. It may be del without prime also, but I am not taking without prime. Okay. Why? Because if you see here, I have to write this vector potential, because its magnetization is in terms of r prime vector, but this r unit vector and r square, that is function of x prime x y z. Okay. So that is why I am changing the coordinate. So if you apply this del prime operator on this 1 upon r, so we can find out that this will be del prime 1 upon r is equal to r unit vector upon r square. You can just find out that you take 1 upon r of this quantity and then you just take a gradient, so that will give the r unit vector upon r square. It means here if you see in this equation, that is in place of r unit vector upon r square, in place of this quantity, so in place of this quantity if you see, so that is in place of this quantity, okay, I can write r unit vector upon r square, I can write this quantity. Okay. I hope you understood. So now if you substitute this value, what we will get? We will get vector A at r is equal to mu 0 upon 4 pi integral m vector, which is function of r prime cross product del prime into 1 upon r. This is gradient of 1 upon r, that is d tau prime. Okay. Now if you further simplify this, so what we have? We have a vector potential, that is mu 0 upon 4 pi integral m vector, which is function of r prime cross del prime 1 upon r into d tau prime. So from vector identity, we can write, let us say if you see here, so this is a vector quantity and this is a del operator and this was the scalar, 1 upon r is a scalar. It means we can write from vector identity, that is curl of a scalar and a vector. So del cross f into c. Let us assume that where f is a scalar and c is a vector. So this can be written as a, from vector identity we can write that is scalar into curl of a minus a vector cross gradient of a scalar f. Where if you compare with this this equation, this vector identity with our this vector potential term. Here we have is in place of f we have 1 upon r, okay, and if you see in place of vector c, what we have a vector that is capital M vector, and in place of del operator, if you see here we have del operator, but in place of del operator what we have a del prime. If we substitute and we try to find out what we'll get, we'll get that del cross del prime cross what scalar f, that is 1 upon r. So 1 upon r into vector c, that is vector m, okay. The del prime cross m vector divided by r. So this can be written as similarly scalar, that is f, that is 1 upon r in bracket, that is del cross a, that is del prime cross m vector in bracket minus a vector, that is m vector cross product, that is gradient of scalar, that is del operator into 1 upon r, that is gradient of a scalar. So now if you see this, this value, that is this vector mr, this will vector m cross product with del operator 1 upon r. So this is quite equal. So we can take this quantity outside. If you take outside this quantity, so this can be written as, so if we write, so this can be written as how much, that is this quantity, so that is vector m cross product with del prime 1 upon r is equal to, so if you take this out, so this will come that side and this will come that side, so that is 1 upon r del cross curl of m vector minus del prime curl of the del prime cross product with m vector divided by r. So this has come, this quantity has come here and this quantity has come there, okay. That means in place of this quantity, in our vector potential term, we can substitute this quantity. So if we substitute that, what we'll get, that vector a at r is equal to mu 0 upon 4 pi in bracket. So we'll substitute, we'll put this quantity, that is integral, it was integral there if you see, so here it was integral, so what we'll get, 1 upon r in bracket del operator cross product with m vector bracket close, that is d tau prime, that is volume integral, minus, so this minus integral del prime cross product with vector m divided by r into d tau prime. So this is the vector potential of a magnetized object now what we have written. Now if you see again this equation carefully, so if you see this equation carefully, this equation, so here we have a volume integral, here we have a volume integral, okay. But again from vector identity we know that, but here what we have here, volume integral of a curl of something. Here also we have a volume integral curl of a vector, okay. So if you see here that from vector identity, that is volume integral of curl of a vector c, that can be written as a minus surface integral c cross dA, okay. Volume integral of curl of a vector c in d tau, that can be written as a minus surface integral vector c cross dA vector. But what is the difference here? What we have? Here we have a del, here we have del prime, okay. We have del prime. Here vector we have c, here we have vector m vector, which is function of r, and here we have here it was d tau, here we have a d tau prime. So if you convert this quantity, so what we can get? We can get that is minus, so del prime, if you write, so this is del prime, if you can write this equation, this thing in terms of our quantity, so integral del prime cross m vector d tau prime, that can be written as minus surface integral m vector, that is c vector, m vector cross product with dA, here it was dA, here d tau, we have a dA prime vector, okay. So where dA is the vector which is along the normal, always is pointing normal to the surface, so we can write that is minus surface integral m vector cross product with n vector dI, this vector dA now converted into a scalar, so dA prime is scalar, okay. That what we will get. Now if you substitute this value, this integral value in this vector potential term in this equation, so what we will get? So we get So we will get so that is here I have converted. So if you see, so sorry, so here this is scalar, so we can take outside scalar. So mu 0.4 pi 1 upon r, this is converted, so this minus will become plus. Okay, so if you put this, so mu 0.4 pi, that is 1 upon r, integral 1 upon half r, this is del prime, I think, yes, this is del prime, so this should be del prime, so this is del prime, so this is del prime, it was del prime, na? Yes, I think, yes, it is del prime, so del prime and cross product with m vector, which is function of r d tau prime, minus minus plus, this, so this minus and that minus was there, that become plus, and then that become mu 0 upon 4 pi. I have taken this 1 upon r outside, so this is this 1 upon r I have taken outside because that is scalar, it will not change the value, so 1 upon r, so this change, that is surface integral m vector cross n vector dA prime. So this our vector potential term will come. Okay, now if you rewrite again clearly, so what we will get? We will get a vector at position of r is equal to mu 0 upon 4 pi integral 1 upon r del cross m vector d tau prime plus mu 0 upon 4 pi surface integral 1 upon r vector m cross product with any unit vector bracket close dA vector. So this is a surface integral and this is a volume integral, remember. So this becomes volume integral and this becomes surface integral. Now here we will define two quantities, new quantity. I will introduce two new quantities. So first term is volume bound current and second term I will introduce, that is the surface bound current. So first is volume bound current and second is the surface bound current. This volume bound current and surface bound current are quite analogy with the what we have learned in electrostatic, that was the volume charge density, volume bound charge density and surface bound charge density, remember. So this is quite parallel with the electrostatic. Here this volume bound current JB, that can be defined as a del cross m vector, that is curl of a magnetization vector m. Here no doubt, obviously I have defined, this is arbitrary, definition I have taken, because here del prime in function of m prime, I'm not taking that in terms of prime, one can take in terms of prime also, but because I'm defining, so that is why I'm writing in terms of del only. So bound current density JB can be defined as a del curl of a m, that is del cross m. And similarly surface current density KB can be defined as this m cross product with n vector, so that m cross n unit vector. So this is volume bound current density and this is surface bound current density, where n is the normal unit vector, obviously normal to the surface. So now if you write the vector potential here, this vector potential, so in place of del prime m, which is function of r prime, obviously this will be volume bound current density which will be the function of r prime. So I have written, and similarly this can be written as a KB, which is function of r prime, because this is prime and this is prime. Okay, so this can be written as vector A at position r can be written as a mu 0 upon 4 pi volume integral JB vector, which is function of r prime upon r, and this, because this r was there, upon r d tau prime plus mu 0 upon 4 pi surface integral KB vector, which is function of r prime divided by r into dA prime. So if you have a magnetized object, that means rather than counting the all dipoles, because if you have magnetized object, we may have a large number of so many dipoles depending upon the number of unpaired electron. So rather than counting all the tiny dipoles, if we are able to find out the total volume bound current and total surface bound current, then we can write a vector potential of that particular material at any arbitrary point P outside of the material. So we know this is the vector potential. So this vector potential can be written as a summation of potential due to volume bound current and due to the surface bound current. Okay, and if we are able to find out this vector potential A, then we can find out the magnetic field of that particular magnetized object. So what will be the magnetic field due to that particular magnetized object at any point P? So B, because B is equal to del cross A. Okay, so these are very important concepts I have introduced: volume bound current and surface bound current. So I hope you understood my lecture. Thanking you very much for listening. Okay.